Hello everyone. Good evening. I'm Steve from UCAN English Tutoring. I've been receiving many inquiries in regards to the OET writing section. Many people have asked me how they can pass the OET writing section in one attempt itself. And this video is going to present some of the important things that you have to be mindful about in order to pass the examination in one attempt itself. Let's go through the video now. Well, I understand that preparing for the OET examination could be very difficult for many students because they might have been working on long shifts and have no people to support them. 9 times out of 10, writing subtest in the OET examination seems to be the most difficult component for many students due to the fact that we do not write anything regularly in our daily routine. So, the question that naturally comes to our mind is how we are going to overcome the fear of writing an impressive letter which can give us either A grade or B grade or at least C plus, with which we should be able to apply for immigration to a range of countries such as Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Ireland, and UK. All right, there are 10 critical things that can help you out. These critical things are the ones that have been already worked very well for majority of the students. Let's go through these vital things that can help you to pass your OET writing section in one attempt itself. Please do not skip this video until I finish those 10 techniques. Okay, let's go through the first one. The first and foremost thing we need to do is to understand the assessment criteria of the writing subtest of the OET examination. I mean, you should know what you can do and what you should not do in the writing section. Okay, I have created a separate video on the do's and don'ts of the writing section. So if you can have a look at them, you'll get to know this in depth. All right, let's go to the second step. You need to split 40 minutes writing time into three stages. 5 minutes for planning, which is the first task you need to do, and then 30 minutes for writing the actual letter, and then 5 minutes for proofreading the letter. Wow. This is how you need to do. So you are going to use only 30 minutes for writing the actual letter, and the remaining 10 minutes needs to be split for planning and proofreading. Yes, you cannot underestimate the value of planning and proofreading. All right, what would be the next thing? You need to identify the background information of the patient and step into the shoes of the addressee to find the relevant and irrelevant case notes. See, identifying the associated case notes that can help the addressee to provide better care to the patient is one of the major tasks of the OET writing subtest. Similarly, you have to avoid the irrelevant case notes. The irrelevant case notes include the information which is already known by the addressee or the information which is not going to help the addressee in providing better care. This is really, really important because this is going to help you to secure more than what you're aiming at. So you have to include only the relevant case notes and omit the irrelevant case notes by stepping into the shoes of the addressee. I mean, you need to think from the addressee's perspective, and then you have to go through the case notes one by one. So instead of going through the case notes in the beginning itself, you have to go to the writing task section of the case notes, and then you have to identify to whom you are writing, and then you have to step into the shoes of the same person. This is really important for you to score very well. For example, if you have to write down a letter to a dietitian, you have to assume that you are a dietitian now And then you have to start going through the case notes from the point of view of a dietitian. This will definitely help you out to shortlist the relevant case notes so that you should be able to provide the relevant information in your letter. All right. What would be the next step? Well, we have now identified the relevant case notes and the irrelevant ones. What do we need to do with the relevant case notes now? You have to group all the relevant case notes into their associated paragraphs by writing short phrases against those notes on the question paper and cross out the irrelevant ones. Well, we have got a list of paragraphs in the original OET examinations that we have to structure in a letter. Okay, for example, if you need to write down the social background information of a patient, please use SB, that is social background, against the case notes that are associated with the social or the family history of the patient. So by writing down the short phrases against the relevant case notes, you would be able to group them easily in their paragraphs. So you have to expand all the relevant case notes that are marked SB into one paragraph only. That will help you to organize the case notes very well and not write down the same notes twice or even thrice. I hope this one sounds good to you. What would be the next step? Well, while writing the letter, you need to use a range of grammatical structures such as simple, complex, and compound sentences and spell the words correctly. I cannot stress enough on the importance of using a mixture of sentence structures. The reason is that the examiner would like to know whether you have a good control on the use of grammatical structures. How can you show this? It is by using a range of sentence structures in your writing. Again, you may ask me what would be the best ways to have a good control on the use of grammatical structures. Well, one of the best ways for you to do is to pick up some simple, complex, and compound sentence structures and then adopt them to each letter. For example, if you would like to copy one sentence structure, let's say there is a complex sentence which starts with the although. Let's say, although he is progressing well, comma, he requires ongoing management and further investigation. So this is a sentence which starts with the although. So if you are quite comfortable with this particular sentence structure, please use it for the other letters as well. But you have to change, the words according to the situation. So this could be one of the complex sentences that you can use throughout your letter. Okay. You can also have a few other complex or compound sentence structures as well. So you need to understand the way some sentence structures are built up. And then you have to copy the same structure but adjust them according to the situation or the letter. That is what you have to do. And this is one complex sentence structure only. So you need to have at least, let's say, 5 complex and 5 compound sentence structures minimum so that you can use them sparingly. Remember that you should not use the same sentence structure again and again in the same letter. I mean, don't use although he's not progressing well, he needs support for his ongoing management. Instead of copying the same structure, next time you can use a different one. For example, in spite of his medication compliance, he is unable to improve his health status. So you can use this structure. This is another structure. So have a list of sentence structures with which you are able to comfortably use those things in the letter. So you are the one who's going to pick up a list of good sentence structures under simple, complex, and compound, and then adjust them according to the situation. This will hopefully help you out to improve your grammatical accuracy and pass the examination easily in one attempt itself. Okay, the next thing is to spell the words correctly. You need to be able to spell the words correctly. Incorrect spelling will affect your score like anything. If you incorrectly spell one word, it is going to affect less when compared with that of misspelling so many words. So once you finish your writing the letter, you have to go through the words where you might have been likely misspelling. It's really important that you spell the words correctly. All right, let's go to the next step. Please use as many synonyms and formal phrases as possible instead of repeating the same words from the case notes. Vocabulary is one of the key assessment factors as far as the writing and speaking sections are concerned in the OET examination. As a result, using a range of synonyms and formal words are really important. You have to use them properly and appropriately. Your task is not to copy the same keywords from the case notes, but to interpret the information from those keywords. For example, instead of writing down his walking ability has improved from the case notes, you can use his mobility has witnessed improvement. Okay, or you can also say his mobility has improved or improvised. So you can use any kinds of synonyms. It's not necessary for you to use the synonyms for all the keywords of the case notes, but it is highly recommended to use at least 60 to 70% of the words from the case notes if you are aiming at B grade and above. All right, let's go to the seventh step. You need to provide correct spacing between sections and words to help the reader understand the information easily and effectively. Well, many students have poor handwriting, and as a result, it may be really harder for the examiner to understand what kinds of details you have provided in your letter. Another issue is that you have to give a space between two words. There must be adequate space between two words to help the reader understand what words you have written down. Also, you have to provide a blank line between two sections of the letter. We have got several sections in the letter. Let us say on the top we do write down the date, and then there must be a blank line, and then you have to write down the addressee's contact details, and then there must be a blank line, and then you have to write down the salutation of the addressee, and then there must be a blank line, and then you have to write down the reference details of the patient, and then there must be a blank line, and then you have to write down the introduction paragraph, and then there must be a blank line, and then you have to write down the next paragraph, and then there must be a blank line, and then you have to write down the next paragraph, and so on. It is really important that you give enough spacing, between two sections of the letter throughout the way, throughout the letter, okay? Because it helps the reader to easily understand your information, and the reader would be very happy to give you high score. All right, what would be the next one? Please write the sentences in the passive form to make your writing more formal. It is really important that you do not use the personal pronouns such as I, my, me, and so on. The first person pronouns are unacceptable in the OET letter section because they make the letter more informal. It's not good. So if you use the passive voice form, usually the object will come in the first place, and then it is mentioned in this passive form. For example, instead of mentioning I prescribed these medications, you can say these medications were prescribed to improve his mobility, for example. This is just an example only. So you can use the passive voice form instead of using the active voice form in the letter. However, the use of passive and active voice forms is acceptable in the speaking section. So in speaking section of the OET examination, you can use both the passive voice form and then the active voice form. All right, what would be the next step you have to go through? Well, you need to use tenses, prefixes, genders, and their pronouns correctly and appropriately and expand all the abbreviations, units, medical acronyms, and symbols. Remember that you should write down the correct prefix for the addressee and then the patient. For example, do not change the prefix of the patient from Mr. to Mrs. or Mrs. to Mr. or Mrs. to Miss and so on. If you change the prefix of the patient or the addressee, you are going to lose marks very badly. Remember this, please. The second thing is be careful in relation to the use of tenses. You have to use the tenses appropriately. You cannot use the future verb if the action happened in the past. Okay, that's really important. And then the genders. Do not change the genders. Don't say, um, instead of writing down, say, for example, 28-year-old male, don't say 28-year-old female. That's not good. The same thing is applicable for their pronouns. If it is a male, please use he, him, his instead of using she, her, she again, let's say. So these things are not good. You may be puzzled that many students do not use this, but there is a significant portion of students who misuse the pronouns of the addressee or the patient. So you have to be very careful in relation to the use of genders and their pronouns. The next thing is to expand all the abbreviations, units, medical acronyms, and symbols. Please do not write DOB in your letter. You have to expand it to date of birth. And try not to write down the medical acronyms. Don't write down BP in your letter. You may be able to use it in the OET speaking section, but in writing, definitely it's not acceptable. You have to write down blood pressure. Please understand this. And then you can't use symbols. Do not put an hyphen when you have to write down, let's say, he drinks 3-5 glasses of wine on weekends. That's not good. You have to write down THREE and then TO and then FIVE, glasses of wine. It's really important that you always expand the abbreviations, units, medical acronyms, and symbols. Lastly, and importantly, you have to proofread your letter and rectify the mistakes such as grammar, spelling, incorrect use of spelling, capital, small letters, and so on. Well, the way we have to find this one out is that whenever you get the feedback from your trainer for your first letter, you have to go through your letter fully and then identify what kinds of mistakes you have been committing. If you commit the same mistakes once again, you need to tell yourself that you have to write down those mistakes and then the correct sentence at least 10 times for each mistake, so that your mind will be vigilant enough to find out the mistakes and prevent them from sharing with the trainer. Okay, so what you can do is that you can write down all the mistakes that you have committed in the first letter. Whatever the feedback that you have received from your trainer, please write them down one by one. Say, for example, if you haven't used the nouns and verbs appropriately. For example, instead of writing down many tests were conducted, you have written on many tests was conducted. So in this case, you haven't used the plural verb for the plural noun. So that is wrong. So you have to understand this, and then the next time onwards, if in every sentence you have to go through the subject, I mean the noun, and then the verb, and you have to ensure that both of them are in the same form. All right, that's one of the major things that you can do. And then the other thing is spelling. So if you commit spelling mistakes, you have to go back and then you have to find that out, what kinds of spelling mistakes you are committing, where they belong to the words that are frequently used in the letter or not. Whenever you commit any spelling mistakes, I would recommend you to write down the correct spelling of the words at least 20 times. It may look like a punishment, but it helps you a lot. Your brain is going to remember the correct spelling of the words when it is written rather than spoken. I hope you understand this. The next thing is the capital and small letters. I have got a range of videos on the use of all these things on my YouTube channel. If you wish, please feel free to watch those videos and understand the assessment criteria. And I wish you good luck with your examination. Remember that the common mistakes you have committed when you have received the feedback from your trainer. So, whenever you have committed any mistakes, you have to go back and then find that out. Once you write down the second letter, you have to review the second letter against the mistakes you have committed in your first letter. You have to go word by word. I know that it takes a lot of time and efforts in the beginning, but once you are on the track, you would be able to see a huge improvement in terms of your grammar, vocabulary, connectivity, inclusion of relevant case notes, and so on. Okay, so please do not give up. Everyone can achieve their desired scores. You can achieve your desired scores. Trust me, from You Can English Tutoring, I'm glad to assist your first letter at free of cost. You will get the high quality assessment that's going to assess each word that you write or speak. And I will also provide you the areas of improvement plus the overall score according to the severity and the frequency of the mistakes you have committed. The first letter and the first speaking role play conversations are assessed at free of cost. You don't need to pay anything for that. Please use my services and let me know how you find those services. To avail this free service, you can send an email to me at steve@youcanenglishtutoring.com, or you can reach me on my mobile or WhatsApp number, that is +61 468 480 877. You can also reach me on my Facebook page, that is www.facebook.com/youcantutoring. I have got my own website as well, that is www.youcanenglishtutoring.com. I've been helping more than 12,000 students to achieve their desired scores in OET, IELTS, and PTE since 2008. I thank you so much for watching this video, and I wish you good luck with your OET examination. If you find these techniques helpful, could you please leave the comments in the comments section of this video, and it would be of great help for me to see the areas of improvement that I need to work on to improve the quality of my videos. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye.